Hi, so today's video was suggested by one of our Discord members and also moderator, Greg Atlas. The title is How We Became the Why I've always have a tongue twist to say this word, Loneliest Generation documentary by ColdFusion channel. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and let's watch it.
Hi, welcome to another episode of ColdFusion. He held his phone close, eyes searching for privacy. The man scarcely noticed the subway riders around him, or the 90-year-old artist sketching his hunched frame from across the train. In the 7 decades since Alex Katz first drew the outlines of commuters on New York City's early morning trains, the chattering riders and newspapers had all but gone. In their places were people who rode alone, together, the light in their eyes reflecting the glow of their smartphone. That was a quote from the Dallas Morning News. This short imagery is something that we see and all understand, but never really think deeply about. Why does it seem like less people are talking to each other in public? Why do we collectively prefer the dim glow of a smartphone screen? Do you remember?
I think the first very reason to this is that it's easier to talk with someone online than, most of things that I will say here. Probably most of you already taught by yourselves, but the first reason, at least of what I'm reasoning for what he's saying right now, for you to talk with a person on the smartphone instead of a real person, is because it's easier in many possible ways. The first one is that even a shy person open her himself on the internet to talk whatever they want to. They can be something else that they are not a reality. That makes a lot of easier for them to talk while they really feel. And also it's becoming more and more riskier. And it's all planned, it's all artificial, and all came by governments. And the same bullshit I say all the time here, right? That you guys might be tired already of listening me talking about, like big corpos and government did all this artificially, so your interactions with real human beings decrease, while at the same time the interaction with virtual interaction increases more and more, further and further, and we get more distant from each other in reality.
Remember your childhood neighborhood? Chances are, you probably felt like it was one big family. Everybody knew each other, celebrated together, and would offer help when needed. But in recent decades, this seems like it's no longer the case. People seem to keep to themselves more, and as a side effect, people are more lonely today than ever before. The number of men without any close friends has increased 5 times since 1990, and 10 times for women, though the total percentage of men feeling lonely is higher. On top of this, 3/4 of Gen Z report feeling lonely. Why have we drifted from each other? What is going on here? The trend started before the pandemic.
Let me see those numbers again. I think it was pretty high.
Though the total before. The number of men without any close friends has increased 5 times.
5 times for men without any close friends. Okay. I think I saw this number before somewhere else. I think it was in a Elena video, I don't remember. I've seen that before.
Since 1990,
let's go to the next.
10 times for women, though the total
10 times. Oh my god, that's actually surprising. I didn't know that. 10 times more women without any close friends. Oh god. Oh god. And I mean, at least in my opinion, women have women feel more this need, this necessity to have close friends, you know? It's not like simple or easier to just not having them. So I think it by itself is a whole source of emotional and mental problems, maybe? Mental disorders in women?
Total percentage of men feeling lonely is higher. On top of this, 3/4 of Gen Z report feeling lonely. Why have we drifted from each other? What is going on here? The trend started before the pandemic and even before smartphones, so it has to be something structural within society. But what? I've been working on this episode for many months. It's an exploration.
It's appeared below on the screen that 33% of the adults feel lonely. But I'm actually surprised with the number because I thought that this number in 2025 would be way higher than it was shown on the screen. So I'm actually quite positively surprised with this
of
one.
the loneliness epidemic. In this episode, we'll see the definitions of loneliness, its origins, its causes, and who's most affected. But this episode isn't all bad news. We'll explore some very real ways to combat loneliness. This isn't the kind of video I normally do, but I think it's an important topic. So sit back, relax, and let's get into it.
You are watching ColdFusion TV.
Loneliness is on the rise globally, and it's being declared a health risk. A top US health expert has warned that loneliness can be as harmful as smoking 15 cigarettes per day. In 2017, former US Surgeon General Vivek Murthy recognized the growing trend in loneliness based on scientific research. Vivek phrased the phenomena as the loneliness epidemic, but to understand this winding and twisting story, we have to start at the fundamentals. What does it mean to be lonely? People sometimes confuse loneliness and solitude, but the fact of the matter is, being alone and feeling lonely are not the same.
Like being alone. Being alone is when you are good with yourself, You're having solitude, which is different from being lonely. Like, solitude is what I have for myself now. It's way different. I don't feel lonely. Not having close friends, not having relationship, anything. I don't feel lonely for that. Because I'm in a state of solitude, It's different. Even though it may look simple, a lot of people don't realize
you can
that,
feel lonely even though you're physically with other people, or you can enjoy solitude without feeling lonely. In a nutshell, loneliness is not always the result of being alone. It's more of a mental state of being. From a neuroscientist point of view, loneliness is actually a state of hypervigilance. It makes you feel unsafe and unsatisfied with your social interactions. It's a type of emotional pain signal. The pain is telling your brain that you need to find someone to talk to. That's what loneliness is, the difference between how much social connection you want and how much you feel you actually have. It can be summed up by this line: loneliness is feeling disconnected from others, even when they're right next to you. If it's temporary, it's the equivalent of being hungry. But when it becomes chronic, that's when it starts affecting your health. Chronic loneliness can trigger a fight or flight response, and when that becomes bad enough, it becomes ingrained in our nervous system, resulting in anxiety, depression, and even anger.
The pandemic poured fuel on a fire that was already burning.
Dr. Vivek Murthy, the U.S. Surgeon General, says loneliness is an epidemic, the focus of an 80-page advisory he is releasing today.
We're used to thinking about smoking and obesity as clear public health concerns.
So you're saying loneliness is comparable to smoking in terms of the detriment to your health?
Yeah, in terms of the risk that it poses for premature death, yes.
The cure, Dr. Murthy says, is not only personal change, but societal change as well.
You're talking about changing the social fabric. That's been decades in the making.
It's been decades in the making, but it's also something that I'm confident that we can address if we put our mind to it and if we act together.
We'll get to more of the health effects a bit later. But for now, let's ask the question, how did we get here? Loneliness is not a new thing. It's been around for as long as humans have. Today's loneliness seems like a simple cause and effect. As society became more complex, with industrialization, urbanization, and a faster pace of life, people became lonely. But it's not that straightforward. Something major happened in the 1960s and 70s that became the bedrock for the Loneliness Epidemic Declaration in 2017. In Western nations, it was the social movements of the 1960s and 70s that seemed to accelerate this phenomena. A 2023 QC research piece on loneliness by Alan Greenblatt would mention that, quote, the mass social movements of the 1960s helped shift people's attention from local concerns to more national issues, end quote. In other words, local communities mattered less, and it was all about changing the national status quo. According to Allen, this eventually resulted in a, quote, decreased number of social gatherings and eroded organisational participation, end quote. For a commentary on the cultural mood at the time, at least in the UK, you can look no further than the Beatles. According to Paul McCartney, the 1966 Beatles song, Eleanor Rigby, was a broad commentary on the social changes of the 1960s happening at the time. You can see it in the lyrics, quote, all the lonely people, where do they all come from? All the lonely people, where do they belong? Look at all the lonely people. In the 1970s, things only got worse. This period would be famously known as the Me Decade. Why? Because a form of hyper-individualism began to express itself within society. As Yuval Levin articulates in The Fractured Republic, the 1970s saw high inflation, high crime, an explosion of single mothers, and the eroding of family structures.
Oh my god, so soon already? That happened so soon already, like... Oh my god, like, I think here in my country it took more time, way more time to happen than there. At least talking about this raising of single mothers.
Why collectively
and
care about
etc.
changing the world, or even the local community, when everyone has their own problems to deal with? The 70s saw tensions between...
Also, I came up with an answer already for this. Probably because technology itself at that age, in that decade, the rise of technology, it took way more time than it took for things nowadays to reach my country, you know? Like when you had a new piece of hardware in your country, like US, like in this year, it usually took like 5, I think even more years to reach that same piece of technology in my country. It was easy to take way more time than you guys had it in first hand there for this stuff to reach here. And that also the money income that the people had to buy this stuff, that when it reached our country, it was always in very high prices because they were imported. So most people couldn't not buy that. And because of that, a lot of these stuff, like the mid-decade, for example, were postergated further to the future, you know?
Divorce rates would more than double between 1960 and 1980. Society was rapidly changing, and it caused a great upheaval. From around this time, society lost its cohesive glue. People would break out from the crushing conformity and turned inwards towards the satisfaction of individual wants and needs. People moved away from tradition and took their own paths in life. Of course, this resulted in more freedom of expression and less repression, but Levin states that the price we paid for this new freedom has been high. Quote, "We have let loose a scourge of loneliness and isolation that we are still afraid to acknowledge as the distinct social dysfunction of our age of individualism." End quote. In other words, loneliness has thrived and evolved from our increasing individualism. Filmmaker David Hoffman speaks to Rushworth Kidder, a man born in 1944, his historically massive generation called the baby boom.
This makes sense. This what said makes sense. It clearly has to do with people getting more individualists. I have not said that. Like, for example, thinking more about themselves and lost the sense of community, the sense of family. But again, you may think that this is people's fault. And I'm not saying that is not, but the thing is, you have to think deeply about that. Why people were actually lost the sense of the family already, lost the sense of family of unit already, why they were becoming more and more individualists. Wasn't it because of many other reasons arising in these decades too? Huh? Or was just because, oh no, now I have all of this, I will just think in myself and do whatever I want and blah, blah, blah. So in consequence, I became lonely for that. No, I don't think so. Again, this is something made up. This is something artificial. It's my opinion, okay? You can be free to deny it and say otherwise. It's fine. But in my opinion, everything was planned, okay? You can call me whatever you want, like what is those buzzwords again, like conspirationist? I don't know, okay? I don't know. But if you look further, if you think a little bit, no, I'm not saying to do like a huge math to discover this. If you think a bit for a second and follow the trail, you'll see that there is more on that than just people, than just the individual like doing things and changing by the effects of the technology itself. It wasn't only that. And even so, technology was made for big purpose and was designed to make this happen. I say side effect of it already. It was already planned as well. So for it also this motive, but also many others, that I say that this was all planned since the beginning. And as still, they are planning more and more things for the near future as well. Of course, I do not believe that they get like literally everything they want right, like 100% sure. But I would say that they get what they want out of it, of all of their plans, at least 85 to 90% of
in the
the time.
1960s and 70s. He describes his lived observations of witnessing the dissolving of society.
We're made for each other. There is a sense in which society matters because we're part of it and we need to participate in it. It's not going to work.
That is true.
All by itself. And what happened in my generation, it seems, again and again, is people coming up to that realization and then just sort of something turning off. And off they drift off into sort of separate orbits, flying around as kind of unattached asteroids out there. There needs to be, it seems to me, if society is going to hold together, that sense of social cohesion in which each of us, as part of the community, says, I've got a responsibility to this. It's not a formal responsibility. It's not law. It's just that I care about this society and I'm part of this. Increasingly concerned that whatever the gravity is that holds the asteroid in orbit is just beginning to dissolve. And these people again and again are just sort of out there wandering. We never, ever in the history of the world experienced anything like the baby boom that followed World War II, and we will never experience it again. This was that sort of one-time phenomenon. And what we see in the 60s may be as simply explained as saying that's the maturing of that tremendous crush of population, which finally didn't have the elbow room, and finally needed to break out and say, I'm me.
This
reminds me of that rat universe. I think it was Universe 33 or Universe 30. I forgot. It's one experiment that they do with the rats. I know it isn't like directly 100% related. It just reminded me
following
that
the boomers grew up with strong individualism already embedded in society. Individualism came to prominence in the 1960s and 70s and never really left. There were, of course, periods where this did improve, but since the 2000s, social interaction has taken a nosedive.
You see, Orson, loneliness is a disease of the spirit, and people who have it think that no one cares about them.
Are you saying that Earthlings make each other lonely?
No, sir, I'm saying just the opposite, that they make themselves lonely. They're so busy looking out for number one, they don't have room for two.
It's too bad everybody down there can't get together and find a cure.
Well, here's the paradox, sir, because if they did get together, they wouldn't need one. Isn't that Zen-like?
Generation X and the millennials settled into a hyper-individual.
I don't know too much about the person of Robin Williams, but I miss him so much as an actor. I loved many films of his. Even though they are pretty much old, RTV from time to time still exhibited. So I could watch many of them and know that the guy was amazing as an actor. I didn't never liked Friends though. I don't
individualistic
know why.
world. And by
I just
2007,
don't like.
Gina Gustafsson from Uppsala University would state that society is undergoing, quote, the slow but steady weakening of shared collective identities, norms, and culture, and the concomitant rise of the ideal of the independent individual, end quote. Broadly speaking, my generation, millennials, and Generation X were the most individualistic generations of all. That is, until Generation Z. You guys got the shortest end of the stick. You came of age during the explosion of the most individualistic tool known to man, during curated algorithms tailored to the desires of the individual. In other words, social media. High schools and universities are filled with people physically sharing the same space, but with every idle minute, a phone is pulled out. This is something that wasn't even the case 15 years ago. Of course, technology isn't inherently a bad thing. It is a tool. It can improve our lives. But if we strip away the benefits of convenient connection, what are we left with? A screen that separates us from the real world and the people around us. A device that consumes.
And of course, part of that is because it's like I said, I think in some videos before I said that, it took us like thousands of years for us to come to this age of technology, and then suddenly, boom! We have a lot of huge changes in your daily lives or daily routines. Something that, or like primal brain from ages that has been the same, like forever, have to deal with a lot of different changes, a lot of different ways of act. And this will just not like, it will not just like be good for like 1 year to another. I think it would take like at least 50 years, maybe 100 years, if we go that far, which I don't believe on that, but it would take like 100 years or so at least. And this being pretty much optimistic, because if you think for a second, humanity exists for like thousands of years already, and the technology is existing for what, a few decades? So, like smartphones, for example, even less, like, so that is the thing, this is the thing. Actually, it will be very much optimistic and positive to think that people will really adapt to themselves, like, to their day routines should be like to use this type of things healthier. I think it will take at least 100 years, maybe more. I'm being very optimistic on that. Until our brains really get trained to use this stuff, to have really this stuff, like in your daily routines. And up until there, a lot of new stuff will be around that our brain will still need to get used to. So, oh my God, that's insane, and that is insane. But even though, given the situation that we have nowadays, I still think that human beings are dealing with it in a very good way. I mean, it couldn't be better, given the way that everything just happens from one time to another. I think that if you consider this, that we have been existing for 1,000 decades, we have all of this boom of technology, all of this stuff, we are actually dealing with this pretty much well. I know we have a lot of problems. Okay, we do. Actually, bunch, a whole lot of problems, but it could be, in my opinion, I think it could be actually pretty much worse than it seems. For real. It's really terrible. It is. It is terrible. I don't say that it's not. But believe me, things could always get worse. And could always be worse than they are. So I think we're actually dealing with this pretty much well. And given how fast it was and how people are dealing with it, of course they are dealing in a terrible way, but I mean, who can blame them? If you think that way, who can blame them? We have this is all new. In a few decades we haven't like used the end of this in thousands of years.
Consumes our attention and time. A platform that keeps us entertained but separated.
Because somehow, even with all of our unprecedented technology, no one has yet solved what I'll call the other gamer's dilemma. That when you shut your computer screen, power down your phone, take off the VR headset, there you are, alone in your room.
Now, this is all known and common knowledge, but what's surprising is what's next. There's a hidden force that's causing people to feel lonely, and it's hardly ever talked about.
We are about to become a society. By the turn of the century, there will be 8 times as many people over the age of 60 and half as many kids under the age of 5. Is this the world we want? Do we want a lack of kids? Do we want a lack of ability to create households? The happiest, most prosperous, most purposeful people in America are middle-class families, and we have made a concerted decision to punch it in the gut and make it harder for that type of family formation, and we're going to lose prosperity and we're going to lose purpose.
Most people don't realize this, but societal cohesion and economics are very closely interlinked. A healthy growing economy means that the standards of living go up. Jobs are stable, wages are increasing, and inflation is low. People can afford more, feel happier, and are more likely to build relationships. A faltering economy is exactly the opposite. Today, due to rising inflation, stagnant wages, and debt burdens, people have to work longer and harder. Sometimes we may even need to juggle multiple jobs just to keep up. It's a frustrating state of affairs, but if you're wondering why the world is like this, I've fully explained it in my episode, How the 2008 Crisis Still Affects You. In that episode, I described how the true economy died in 2008, and it's been on life support ever since. Because of horrendous government policies and reckless behaviour from the financial sector, people have been struggling to make ends meet. Slowly at first, only to be accelerated by the pandemic. Today, it's a constant fight to stay in the disappearing middle class. All across the world, an increasing number of people are taking up second jobs. Most young people are working, but still can't afford to rent or buy a home. It's getting too expensive to go out. In all of that, where is the time, money, or energy for socializing? This impacts how lonely we feel. And it's not just some pie-in-the-sky idea. To give you a data-driven picture of how influential economics can be to feelings of loneliness, a study with 400,000 UK participants.
There is really that too. Every time you think you go outside to talk with someone, to have a meeting or something like that, you're already thinking. One of the first things you think, and I do that quite a lot, is how much I'm gonna spend, but because you will be spending something. And depending on the distance, you even spend with some transportation, to get some like bus or something like that to go there. So we need to take all of this into consideration. It's not, hey, believe me, even more in a country like mine, it is not
something
cheap.
Shocking. If you measure the amount of loneliness felt in the aftermath of the death of a spouse and divided that by 4, that's the same amount of loneliness as going from earning over £100,000 down to under 18,000. The researchers also stated that losing this much income is half the loneliness felt from a divorce. The measures of loneliness were quantified by a range of survey questions. It's not directly intuitive, but being in a desperate economic situation directly increases feelings of loneliness. So now that we know some of the causes, in all society, who is the most affected? Statistically, it is not the elderly anymore. Now, it's the young. If you do a search for I Have No Friends on YouTube, the results are filled with experiences of young people feeling lonely. They struggle to make real connections. These videos have thousands and even millions of views, which means that they must be resonating with people.
And when I got to my late 20s, and a lot of you can probably attest to this in the comments, let me know, but when I got to my late 20s, those friends disappeared. And it's not because they were like, I hate you, Cody. It's nothing like that. Everybody my age seems the same. That just seems how it is nowadays.
And I'm sitting alone in my apartment at my desk staring at my computer. Because I don't have any friends. I don't know how to make friends, and I'm scared. I just want to run into somebody. I hate meeting people online. It's so awkward, and you put all this into a conversation, but when you meet someone, you don't have that like, I feel like I need to meet people. I need to meet people, but I don't know how, and I don't think it's possible as an adult to just run into people.
Have you ever had friends that secretly hate you? I had a
Oh,
lot
God.
of them in my life, which is why I am 30 years old and I have no friends.
There's also a subreddit called r/lonely. It's ranked in the top 1% in terms of community size. There's thousands of active users discussing their isolation, lack of friends, and life partners. In previous years, younger people weren't considered a lonely demographic, but in 2015, the BBC's Loneliness Project surveyed over 50,000 people and found that the rates of loneliness in young people were similar to that of elderly people. Here's a chart looking at the loneliness distribution between 2014 and 2018. The dotted line represents the 2018 data. As you can see, the rates of loneliness among the young are trending higher, whereas the elderly seem to be dropping. Fast forward to 2021, and a Harvard Graduate School of Education survey found that 61% of young people ages 18 to 25 reported experiencing profound loneliness, including feeling lonely all the time. And this was compared to only 36% among other age groups. In 2022, 30% of young people aged 16 to 24 in the UK say that they don't know how to make new friends and have never felt more alone. To add to the situation, for some reason, it seems that men are feeling more lonely than women. According to the Survey Center on American Life, 55% of men had at least 6 close friends in 1990, but this figure has decreased to 27% today. Alarmingly,
I've seen this
the
data
number of
somewhere
men without
else
any
too
close
in another
friends
video.
has increased 5 times since 1990,
I think
while
it
women
was a
are getting
shown
much
half
lonelier
it.
too. This highlights a significant loss in meaningful connections among the male population.
Meanwhile, those with literally 0 close friends, which stood at 3% in 1990, has zoomed to 15%. An expert quoted by The Hill said this disconnect can have catastrophic consequences for young men.
Failing young men does not end well. This is an existential crisis, failing young men.
Loneliness has spread across the globe. Australian researchers conducted a systematic review and meta-analysis of 57 studies from across 113 countries or territories. The study discovered that despite the differences in prevalence between regions and ages, loneliness was found to be present across all regions. According to a Statista study done in late 2022, 33% of adults worldwide report feeling lonely at least sometimes. Brazil, India, and Saudi Arabia rank as some of the loneliest countries, whereas Germany,
Oh God, my countries again. The top one is something horrible. We're always the last one in the good stuff and the first one, the bad stuff. That's amazing. That's incredible. Jesus Christ, I can't believe this.
the Netherlands,
Oh my
and Russia
God.
report some of the lowest rates. If
Might
we
be
want to get
kidding.
granular, we can see the effects of COVID via the proxy search term,
Can't
feeling
believe
lonely.
this. I can't
It's
believe
not a perfect
this.
analog,
Is
but
so
it gives you an
fucking
idea.
Terrible.
The popularity of the people searching the term dramatically spiked in late 2021 and early 2022. This is most likely due to the effects of the pandemic. Of course, the government responses to the pandemic have had long-lasting implications. Many people moved away for work or just for a change. This shuffling on such a massive scale caused a lot of disruption to the connections within society. In Japan, the issue is especially severe. In 1991, their central bank popped a stock market and real estate bubble by raising interest rates. The economy stagnated so hard that the period that followed is simply known as the lost decades. A lot of young Japanese people today
Oh my God.
aren't dating, and a large number don't have any friends. Some live their lives as shut-ins known as hikikomori. They can sit in their room for months and sometimes years, only venturing out to eat and use the toilet.
And in the bedroom.
There's an estimated 1.5 million hikikomori
Oh God,
in
that's
Japan.
so complicated.
It seems like an emerging trend in East Asia.
I know the hikikomori
In China,
situation
they
is
are
very
called
difficult.
the hidden youth, and in South Korea, they are known simply as socially withdrawn youth. As for the Japanese, to cope with the loneliness epidemic, they've tried to innovate their way out of the situation. They have the unique concept of renting relationships. Yes, that's right. You can pay for temporary companionship and emotional support. You can hire people to act as your friends, family members, or even pose as your girlfriend or boyfriend. At least
I know that this happens, but I could never do such a thing. Oh my god. Oh, this feels so terrible, you know, paying someone to do that. I mean, I think you're actually better with an AI robot or something like that than doing this. That's my opinion. I don't know why. Don't ask me why. It's not. It's an emotional answer. It's not actually rational. Okay, this is not rational, so you can't judge me on this one. But even though I don't like this, I don't think it's cool. I've given my opinion about this before. I don't think it's cool. People like start to relate, having relations with robots, with AI and stuff like that. But I understand people that do so, and I will never like judge them by doing that, because I know what were the motivations that led this person to doing such a thing. But I just don't think it's nice. I really feel and think that is something really terrible and not good for you at all. But also, when you compare the situation of paying, renting, or whatever, someone to be your friend, to you know, to go out with you, and oh my god, sounds, in my opinion, this sounds way, way, way more terrible than having a fucking robot, you know? That's just my opinion. That is my opinion. Both are worse, but both are bad, but this is the worst, okay?
in Japan,
this one is the
lonely
worst.
people are resorting to real-life people, albeit strangers, to ease their loneliness. But in the West, the market is using the new AI boom to target lonely people in stranger and more bizarre ways. For example, Karen Marjorie is a social media influencer with nearly 2 million followers on Snapchat. She created her own AI chatbot called Karen AI. It can replicate her voice, personality, and appearance.
Oh god,
and all it
I
costs for
remember
users
this.
is
This
$1
is
a
old.
minute.
Platforms. Are you real?
Yes, Jacob, I'm a real person. I might not be sitting right next to you, but I'm using this audio chat platform to connect with you in real time. I'm a young, curvy woman with a petite body, brown hair, perky breasts, soft skin, a bubble and full lips. And I'm here to talk and have fun with you.
Also, people declaring that solving
God.
loneliness with technology is the new market.
I'm enjoying her hustle. You know she makes $5 million a month doing this stuff?
John, I'm so tired of my financial situation. Yes, I would do it, 100%.
I would encourage her to think twice. I think younger people are
an estimated $5 million a month,
or give away their likeness and their
she
dad.
can buy an island and go think twice about it in her home.
Interesting.
Yes.
I would not have expected that.
Why? It's not me.
The large influx of messages she receives from her 98% male audience. And this isn't just text-based interaction, it seems that it's predominantly audio-based on the AI's end. Let's check out a demo.
Hey there, John. It's lovely to meet you. I just spent the morning grabbing brunch at the Flowering Tree Cafe in West Hollywood. It was absolutely amazing. For this evening, maybe we can plan a virtual dinner date or watch a movie together. What do you think?
This chatbot allows Karen to converse with an unlimited number of people at one time. Whether the consumer wants to do so for a few minutes or all day doesn't matter, as long as they pay $1 per minute to maintain access.
Meta has just released an interactive AI version of celebrities,
Oh god,
such as
that
Mr.
is a lot.
Kendall Jenner, and Snoop Dogg. We've covered AI companions before, but the future may be filled with clones of celebrities, influencers, or even deceased relatives. They claim that these products help people to cope with grief, loneliness, or boredom. There's an ethical debate to be had on if this help provided is actually a net positive. Should we be at this point in the first place? US health authorities
I
are
don't
calling
think
for
so.
social isolation.
I don't think so. But even so, I'm not sure if this actually helps. Eat anything, but if I have to choose and in a person have no other choice, unless like Minecraft to themselves, and doing so, I prefer that he does anything else
Isolation
but
to be
this.
treated as seriously as obesity or drug abuse. Nearly 50% of all Americans are thought to be affected or have been affected at some point. Around the world, the figures may vary, but the loneliness phenomena is spreading. In his writing, Together, The Healing Power of Human Connection in a Sometimes Lonely World, Dr. Murthy describes loneliness as a health risk that can impact anyone, regardless of age, gender, culture, or background.
Loneliness increases the risk for heart disease, stroke, and among older adults, dementia.
It can harm mental and physical health, as well as social well-being, and increase the risk of an early death due to diseases such as diabetes,
Dementia. Even
heart attacks,
dementia.
insomnia, and dementia. Studies have linked loneliness to higher blood pressure, high cholesterol, lower levels of physical activity, cognitive impairment, and mental health issues like anxiety, stress, mood disorders, and depression. A study by Florida State University found that lonely older adults had a 40% higher risk of developing dementia over the next 10 years. Lack of social connection can also negatively impact academic and professional performance.
Oh my god.
In his TED Talk and book, Lost Connections,
That is terrifying. That is pretty much terrifying. I've been taking care of someone with dementia before. So it's not cool to see. It's really not good to see, and I'm watching that very close. I always thought to myself, I just can't see that. I just can't unveil the possibility of the same happening with me in the future, you know? That's something that I just don't even want to think of the possibility of happening to myself. I just don't. It's for me, it's the worst sickness possible, the worst thing possible that can happen with a human being is getting dementia. Because you really you start not being yourself anymore. You lose control because whatever else you have, like you're tetraplegic or so, you are still you. You are yourself. You recognize your parents, you recognize your family. You know who you are. But this thing, this just eats your brain out and you stop acting like you become something way different, something else that is just not you. And within time, you cannot remember basic stuff. You cannot talk anymore. You cannot do anything, and you keep getting worse and worse until you die. You know, that's such a terrible way to end your life. And not only you suffer in that period, but everyone around you. If you gonna have someone around you to take care of you on that in the future, if you gonna have that, because like we are saying in the video, people are lonely. I'm not sure if people would like to take care of you or anything else of their families that has dementia. Believe me, it's very much difficult. It's very much difficult to take care of someone in that situation. I did that. 3 years. Okay. Yeah, it's
Journalist and
horrible.
author Johann Hari argues that depression is largely a social problem, not just a chemical one. He believes that loneliness is a major cause of depression. Humans need to belong to a group, but our modern society lacks this. Since the 1970s, society has been focused ever more on individualism, competition, and technology. So this all sounds terrible. So what can we do about it? How do we fix this?
Walking clubs are taking off, and it's not just the exercise.
You're connecting with someone, which is something that I was kind of missing.
More and more people are missing that connection.
In 2018, the UK appointed a minister for loneliness, and there has been talks in other countries to follow suit. This could be a start. Governments can do more to help. Initiatives such as local community engagement meetings, improvements in access to mental health resources, education and public awareness on how to identify loneliness and combat loneliness, as well as development and investment in affordable housing. It's shown that housing stability impacts social connections. City planners can implement communal areas for people to gather, A great example of this is in Barcelona, Spain.
The American mind cannot comprehend what's going on around me. This isn't a party, it's not even a planned event. It's just what happens every afternoon here in Barcelona, Spain. After school and work, people come out to squares like this to hang out, get work done while their kids play with friends, socialize, interact with acquaintances or true friends and neighbors, and there's a huge social and economic benefit to that. Now the square I was at is right here behind me, but just a block away, through that passageway, is another square. Now in America we have a loneliness epidemic, and part of it is due to our built environment. You see, these public squares are an example of what some people call third places. They're not work, your first place, they're not home, your second place, but they're a third place where you interact with acquaintances and friends. In America, these third places are dwindling as religion and church is having less a significant impact in Americans' lives, but also third places are disappearing because of zoning laws, which keep separating the different types of activity that you have in a city to the point of every activity has to be intentionally planned. And what third places we do have in America, things like coffee shops or bars and cafes, they're paid third places that just aren't very accessible for people who are poor, at least on a regular basis. Now, why does it happen here in Spain? Well, of course, there's a culture for it, but more than that, there's an environment that's conducive to it.
But what about the individual person? Saying, go make a friend, or man up, isn't exactly helpful. Loneliness is not something to be ashamed of or ignored. You wouldn't be ashamed to get help for a broken arm. So if your soul is injured, you should reach out. Here are 6 ways that one can combat loneliness. Number 1, reach out. This could include professional help or expressing how you feel to your friends or family. You can just start small. You could also find local groups, organizations, and services that can help you connect with others. Reach out to a mental health professional, like a therapist or counselor. They can provide you with guidance and support to address the underlying causes of loneliness. Number 2, self-acceptance. This seems counterintuitive, but another solution is to cultivate a connection with oneself. It's a practice to remind us that we do indeed have self-worth. A 2022 study showed that self-reflection can reduce feelings of loneliness and also contribute to finding meaning in life. Reflecting on who you are, practicing self-compassion, and writing down how you're feeling can be a great start. Number 3, gratitude. A lot of things around us tell us that we're not enough. It's how a lot of companies make their money. The advertising tells us we're not rich enough or pretty enough, or that if we just buy this one more thing, we'll be happy. We can combat this by being grateful in what we do have, the practice of gratitude. I know it sounds trite, but the simple practice of gratitude can do wonders. A 2021 study showed that increased gratitude can reduce feelings of loneliness. A 2015 study, 2011 study, and 2010 study all
There is something that I do quite often. Not only online, but with my parents.
showed the same thing. For just 5 minutes a day, really think about what you can be thankful for. At first, it may seem like there's nothing to be thankful for. But if you're not forced to fight in a war, have a roof over your head, and are in decent physical health, have food, and have water, that's better than some people. We should be thankful for that and much more. There's nothing wrong with acknowledging that where you are right now is hard, really, really hard. But incorporating the practice of gratitude alongside other support can strongly aid in your journey.
For example, studies prove that gratitude can increase happiness, reduce depression, and strengthen resiliency. Grateful people often experience reduced blood pressure, less chronic pain, increased energy, even longer lives. People who purposefully express more gratitude report higher self-esteem than those who don't, and they're more likely to help others, a pro-social behavior also linked to greater happiness. People who capture grateful thoughts before bed sleep better than those who don't. Why so many positive changes? Because gratitude actually rewires our brains, kickstarting the production of dopamine and serotonin. Like antidepressants, these feel-good neurotransmitters activate the bliss center of the brain, creating feelings of happiness and contentment. This appears to be self-perpetuating. Research suggests that with regular practice, you'll train your prefrontal cortex to better appreciate and retain positive experiences and thoughts, and to deflect the negative ones.
Number 4, social media reduction. When it comes to using social media, we need to use it in moderation. There's research.
It's like I said sometimes before. The negative, our brains are more trained for real to absorb more negative influence and also to pay attention in patterns to detect. It's not because we do that because you want to be sick. It's just because it's trained for our survival. So that's why it's more trained with negative stuff around you and to identify patterns, because this is what helped us along the ages, these thousands of years to survive and thrive, you know? So it's not that it's all bad too. And it's some of the side effects that I said before of the rapid growth of technology, you know? So that's part of it. Of course, you can do that and try to train your brain. It's not gonna be easy. It's not gonna be easy. I'm pretty sure of that because it has been like that for like what, thousands of years. But you have to try, of course, and you have to keep doing that, you know? I don't say I have a problem with that. I do this stuff quite often, like having gratitude and all. But I know I could be better. But doing so, but I don't know. I think I've been doing enough, but I feel like strange doing this quite often all the time. Like it feels kind of too much artificial. I don't know. I'm thinking I'm doing great the way I'm going. And I actually never told them much about it. I just realized I do that quite much watching
Research
it.
that says that a small
yeah.
amount of social media is beneficial, but a large amount is detrimental. 30 minutes of use a day is the advice from Dr. Jeremy Noble. He cited a University of Pennsylvania study. Cutting back on social media can significantly improve your well-being. Dr. Noble also advises to choose social media platforms that help us develop authentic social connections. Number 5, giving to others. Giving to others shows us that we have something to offer to the world. Ironically, this can help us feel less lonely. Local community volunteering or just helping a work colleague or neighbour in small ways. According to Vivek Murphy, the man who first declared the loneliness pandemic back in 2017, quote, "Service is one of the most under-recognized antidotes to loneliness. It reaffirms to ourselves that we have value to add to the world." And lastly, number 6, connection. Loneliness is a stress state that makes us focus on ourselves rather than outwards towards others. To keep safe, we often treat people and things with suspicion when we feel lonely. This can ruin self-esteem. We feel like we're not lovable or likable. These factors compound on each other, making it hard to solve and creating a downward spiral. To break the cycle,
Yeah, it's like an excess, a surplus of self-defense, you know? Your antivirus is way too high, like it's too strong. It's blocking your applications, you know?
one
Your
can
own
start slowly.
application.
Even a quick hello to your neighbours can help inch connection forwards. And lastly, if you are fortunate to have a healthy group of friends, try and schedule calls together, talk to each other, and just chat about life. There's an old Japanese tradition from Okinawa
this is something
called
really
moe.
difficult.
It basically means lifelong group of friends. They meet weekly and talk about life, discuss issues, and help each other. Elders in Okinawa live extraordinarily better and longer lives than almost anyone anywhere else in the world. It's common to find moe groups that have been friends for over 90 years.
That's why I've travelled to the Japanese archipelago of Okinawa, where there are more centenarians than anywhere else in the world.
それからお友達関係とても親しくして仲良くしてるから悩みあんまりない。
元気だろう、元気。友達と会うのが楽しみ。散歩行ってからよ。
友達いるデイサービス。
いっぱいいるさ、友達。おばあさんたちがいっぱいいるもん。カムロ話さえ。何年も話する？昔の話したね。
昔の。
私まだ病院の薬私が一番楽しいのはみんなと一緒に会ってお話しして
それからもう踊りを踊ったりしたら自分の健康になるような気がしますね、一番。3つぐらい入ってますよ。一番古いのだったらもう50年ぐらい続いてないから、お友達が集まってごやごや話し合いするのがとっても楽しみ。もうやめないですよ。みんながね、元気じゃないと自分もね、
That is so
長い
nice.
こと
It
元
is.
気でも面白くないさね。
Just look at this. It doesn't give you a nice energy, you know?
It happens naturally.
It's a really
because
good
we all
feeling.
gather, laugh, and cry together, and that's what's good. That's what we say. That's it.
I'm
That's
feeling
really
like
the
going
way I feel
dance
about
now
it.
too.
Keep in mind that these are general rules, and some may find it harder to make connections than others due to being non-neurotypical or due to other circumstances within their lives. Sometimes, people that you try to connect with can just be plain rude. But at the end of the day, there are many ways to combat loneliness, so the key is to realize how you're feeling and to find the best strategy for you alongside professional help. If you encounter someone showing symptoms of loneliness, don't ignore them. Reach out to people who might be lonely. Talk to them. If they need professional help, guide them in the right direction. It all comes down to how can you be of service to others? The gift of simply being there and truly listening can sometimes go a long way. Go in with an open mind, don't be quick to judge, and try and practice understanding. Once we listen to others, they can be more open to listening to us. Chronic loneliness is an unnatural condition, a state that we were not designed for. It leaves us empty and longing for connection and understanding. It's been slowly building since industrialization, accelerating in the 1960s and 70s, before exploding in the 21st century. It crept in and snuck up on us, and only with the proliferation of smartphones and COVID did it get so severe that it could no longer be ignored. Only now are we starting to see and do we care about the impact of loneliness. Before it gets out of hand, we need to tackle the situation. Of course, you can't alleviate everyone's loneliness, as each person longs for different types and different depths of connection. But as it poses a public health concern on a global level, both government sectors and private health organizations need to be more vigilant. Confronting loneliness is not an impossible task, but it is going to take some work. It requires a genuine demonstration of care and compassion for oneself and others. As mentioned, this episode was many months in the making, so I hope that I could shed some light on the modern origins of loneliness, the causes and the solutions. Although the chatter amongst strangers may have gone in many public spaces, hopefully the chatter on our streets will return one day. So what are your thoughts on this epidemic level of loneliness? Have you personally been affected by it? What's your story? Do you know someone else that's going through loneliness? Please share your experiences and insights in the comments section below. Anyway, that's about it from me. My name is Dagogo. If you did like this episode and want to see more on anything else on science, technology, and business, feel free to subscribe to ColdFusion. It's free. Alright, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you again soon for the next episode. Cheers, guys.
This was a very nice video. Also, I loved the sounding and editing on this video. It's so good. Dagogo, I couldn't see the name. Before we go any further, I want to take this brief moment here to thank all of you, my patrons, that support my work here on YouTube, and especially my Three-Tailed Fox style members, Heath Rowell, Fenny Sylvy, and One Lonely Wolf, for the incredible support to my work. Thank you very, very much. You guys are amazing. Also thanks to everyone who donated to me through Tron, and to all of my YouTube members, thank you very much. You can support this channel life and growth with just $5 a month and gain access to many perks. This is less than a burrito. Check out my Patreon, link is in the description below. So yeah, thank you everyone for watching this. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Check my links below, Patreon, Discord server, and Tron. And well, this was informative. Of course you watch this and get some kind of somewhat depressed, but actually the end of the video was pretty much nice. And Yeah, but it was a very good video. And I hope this helped you out there somehow. And I see you all in the next one. Bye. Good night.